Hey there, I'm Deuce. So, Eidolon hunting, that one thing you're supposed to do instead of fishing? So, if you're in the mood for a change of pace, stick around. This is the Eidolon hunt explained, and thanks in advance for watching. For the purpose of getting this message across as concisely as possible, this video will be divided into two. First, we're going to take a look at the loadouts we'll be taking, and second, we're going to talk about the strategy involved in taking down the Eidolon itself. So let's roll. Okay, let's start with the Warframes. Now, these are the ones I found to be more effective in the hunt, but if you have any other suggestions, make sure to share them in the comments below. Now, the best Warframe versus an Eidolon, at least so far, is Chroma, especially with the Ice Tank build. The combination of Vex armor and Elemental Ward will allow you to ramp up your damage and be able to take whatever the Terrorist sends your way with no problems. Very effective. Harrow is another frame that can be very useful. Using his Covenant to turn pretty much anything you'll bring into a red crit machine is a huge plus, but he can be quite squishy, so make sure you have the sufficient backup for your Harrow. Otherwise, things could go south fast. Another good Eidolon hunter is Nova. Her antimatter drop is pure damage personified, given that you can land it in one of the Terrorist's weak points. Still, she can eat very large chunks of the Eidolon's health in one go, but suffers from the same problems as Harrow. She's real squish. The fourth slot in your group will be reserved for some support, specifically ambulances. Chances are someone in your team will need a revive or two at some point, and Limbo can solve that. His Rift Walk makes him immune to almost all of the Eidolon's attacks, except for one, and the tiny sentients that serve as the Terrorist's escort can only hurt him when they do their spectral attacks. That's why he's my personal choice for backup. Let's talk firepower. As you may know, Eidolons are immune to status effects, so the meta is out the window for this one. So packing as much damage as you can with both primaries and secondaries is a must. As my first recommended primary, we have the Tigris Prime. Not the 100% status one, the pure damage Tigris Prime. Very useful, deals a gigantic amount of damage, and is ideal to hurt the Eidolon directly. The Arca Plasma, same concept as the Tigris. The only difference being this one can crit and hard, so build it accordingly and you shouldn't have any problems. And last but not least, the Opticore, by far the most effective primary against the Terrorist so far. This thing can, in theory, one-shot a limb. So build it for crit and pure damage. As long as you have a decent accuracy, it's real good. Now secondaries, the concept is the same. Since sometimes out in the plains, ammunition scarcity can happen, this can help you complement your firepower and help you through that last part of the hunt. First, Axteleto Prime. Not the hybrid Axteleto Prime, build it for pure damage and crit. It won't do as much damage as you could think, but still, it helps to chip away some of that health one clip at a time. Euphorna Prime. Using its very powerful primary fire mode can be the perfect complement when your primary is out of ammo. Same concept, pure damage and crit. And third, the Lex Prime. Highly precise and powerful given the right build. Remember, crit and pure damage. Status effects do nothing to Eidolons. Once you have a setup and a hunting party, it's time to hunt. Now, the first thing you have to do is track the Eidolon itself. Since it only comes out at night, that gives you about 50 minutes to find it and take it out. So make sure your party spreads out. Arc wings are really useful here, so bear that in mind. Once you find it, it's showtime. But the Eidolon hunt is a 4-stage fight. Every time you take out a limb, it'll hide and resurface someplace else. So the tracking process must be repeated that many times. The Terrorist has 4 weak points. Its radiator-looking shoulders and its knees. But before you get there, there is the shielding. As of right now, you can still use Shield Disruptor to severely drop its shields, but there is a fix coming in the future that will prevent that strat, so don't rely too much on it. To drop the Eidolon's shields, you need to shoot it with your operator. From my experience, you don't need to aim at a specific weak point, but do it just in case. Once you've taken out the shields, the Eidolon's body will emit a certain red pulse. That means it's time to switch to regular weapons and start damaging it directly. There are 2 ways of going about it. One, you damage all the parts equally without focusing on any until they're harmed enough. This proves to be quite useful since it helps to quicken the later stages where the Eidolon is more aggressive and has a larger number of escorts. And 2, You focus all your firepower on one limb at a time. This way is harder, but it's how it's meant to be hunted. Now the Terror List has a number of attacks, all AoE, but 4 of those are particularly dangerous. First, we have the Stump. Aside from doing a lot of damage, it can send you flying all the way to Kingdom Come, and the only way to avoid it is to jump it, or if you're a Limbo, just stay in the Rift. Another attack you should be worrying about is the Ground Pound. This one hurts quite a bit and can potentially one-shot you. The Eidolon punches the ground, sending waves of energy from it. Limbo can ignore it as long as he stays on the Rift, and Chroma can easily tank it. The rest needs to go into warrior mode and use the Void Cloaking, aka crouching. The third attack happens every time you take an Eidolon's limb and right before it goes into hiding. It's basically an explosion that can one-shot pretty much anything and ignore the Rift mechanic. So if you're not tanky enough, either run away as far as you can to get away from the radial effect or go into warrior mode and crouch. Last but not least, the Eidolon's most spectacular attack. I call it Star Wars or the fireworks, but name it as you wish. This attack can deal ridiculous amounts of damage. It ignores the Rift and Chroma can't tank it, so the only way to dodge it is to go into warrior mode and crouch. The way you know beforehand that it's coming is by watching the Terror List raise an arm in the air and shooting at the sky. That's your cue. Go into operator mode and hide. Another thing you must take into account is the fact that in later stages of the fight, the sentient escorts will attempt to restore the Eidolon's shields. You know that because the Terror List starts to emit a blue light from its body, and the Vombulists, which is the name of the escorts, will link with it via a blue beam of energy. When this happens, forget the Eidolon and target the escorts. Otherwise, you'll have a very long fight in your hands. Another way of preventing this from happening is to have 1 or 2 members of your party focusing on the escorts from the get-go, keeping their numbers to a minimum, thus minimizing the impact when the Eidolon decides to regen. And this is my strat for hunting Eidolons. With it, I am able to hunt it down at least twice a night, given the fact that every time you load into the plains counts as a different instance of it, and thus it allows the Eidolon to spawn more, so you are not restricted to one hunt a night for now. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed the video or you found it interesting, please consider giving it a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more Warframe content and follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with everything. Wherever you are, have an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.